The Roots of Success podcast is for the landscape professional who's looking to up their game. We've got a brain trust of experts to help you nurture the roots of a successful business and grow to the next level. This is the Roots of Success.
Welcome to another episode of Roots of Success podcast, and I'm your host, Tommy Cole. And boy, we've got another great, exciting guest today. I've got my really good friend for the last few years. We have we've done a lot together. We've been a lot of peer groups and travel and probably some fun times in the past of celebrating some of our wins together. It's my good friend, Bob Marks from EMI Landscape out there in the great state of PA. How are you doing, Bob?
I'm doing well, Tommy. Thanks so much for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. This is a long time overdue. I've got a lot of respect for this guy. He is much of a doer. When we meet, we get together and he's like, just tell me how it is. Let's get things done and let's go. Let's drive. Let's go. And I think that's why we both hit it off so well. So welcome to the show. He is a commercial landscape company, almost all commercial related maintenance, but also a gigantic part of his business is the white stuff called snow. So he's honestly our snowman in our peer groups, and he's had a lot of life lessons along the way and probably messed up a lot of things, but he's going to share those experiences with us today, and we're super excited. Bob, here we go. How did EMI get started? Give us a little bit of a background, what the latest is, and how do you got to where we are now?
Yeah, so I'm second generation. So EMI was started actually the year I was born by my stepdad. So he was in construction, built his own first house, and then got laid off from construction and said, what am I going to do? So started a landscape company, doing just about anything residential, whatever he could get his hands on, grew the company. And then my mom joined the company and she did everything from the books, invoicing, customer relations, picking up trash on sites. And then I worked at the business in high school. Yeah. So worked there in high school, went away for a few years, became a automotive mechanic for Audi, worked at Audi for a while, and then the business drew me back in. So in 2009, moved back to Pennsylvania, and we were a company of 7 people. So
seven people.
And Ed and I were leading 2 teams. There was 6 of us in the field with my mom in the office, and that was the whole company. And that was 2009. And I think a turning point was probably 2015. We started hitting some growth. Ed was very much the execution part of the business. He taught me a lot about how to run an efficient job site. And then I was lucky to have him on one side of me and Cindy, my mom, the relationship side. And I learned from the 2 of them. And I slowly became, as they put, a little bit more of the face of the business. I was dealing with the clients more, dealing with vendors. And then Ed and I came to agreement, and I purchased the company on January 4th, 2021. So I became sole owner in 2021, and I've been learning a few things since that point.
Well, it's been smooth sailing since 2021. No, nothing's been going on. It's been easy breezy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I figured we're in the middle of a pandemic. I should just buy the family business and go from there. That was the plan.
Yeah, we love to take risks. I get it. So what drew you to this? What drew you your interest to sort of take over the family business and sort of not change things up, but just maybe run a little bit differently or grow this business to what, your stepdad, I'm sure, did a phenomenal job. Probably got it to a certain point, but you wanted to take over. What's the reason behind that?
Well, to touch on that, what Ed did, my stepdad, I don't think I could have achieved what he did. We are very different people, and I think that's why the 2 of us ended up being successful, and therefore EMI being successful. That he was able to grind those early entrepreneur days and see what was the future when there was nothing to look towards. So, and then as we grew, I think the people part of it comes a little more naturally to me.
Yeah.
And it was almost a natural time to hand off. When we got to a point of 30 employees, 40 employees, it wasn't what he wanted. So that kind of worked out well. But what really drew me to it, Tommy, and I don't think I've been able to articulate this until recently, is I don't know what it is about me, but I guess in some ways I'm a people pleaser. I'm very much, I want to make sure our clients are successful. And it's not that I'm such a great guy and all I care about is other people. I'm not sure. I think just ingrained from my mom in the business that like I have this innate desire that we're going to be successful because our clients are so well taken care of. And when I got to come back to the business and see us do the level of work we could accomplish that almost no one else in our area could do. One, we were super efficient. I would look back at the end of a, 14-hour day landscaping and what the six of us accomplished in the field was just incredible, let alone the work was top notch. And when I could see what we could accomplish and then the results of happy clients and the growth from that, I think that was my launching point of like I get the satisfaction of a job well done, and then also our clients are happy who want to give us more. It just spiraled from there, spiraled up.
Yeah, took off like crazy. That's great. You got to give the mad respect to the stepdad and mom to sort of lay the foundation. I mean, that's the most difficult part is just getting started with some sort of a brand, some sort of just operations, executing on jobs, on maintenance properties, executing on billing, and just be profitable like that. For you to jump in and kind of watch and observe, I think you owe all of them the amount of respect. So great to them. Let's talk about something that's really interesting. A few years ago, speaking of Vine in 2021, right? I feel like it was the next year, or maybe the year that next year, I felt like something happened where the winter a couple of years ago, the white stuff did not fall from the sky, and
Yeah,
you were
there
thinking,
was no winner, Tommy. There was no winner.
yeah, you're thinking, oh crap! Like your business is pretty heavily involved in snow contracts, snow plowing, etc.
Yep.
And I remember some calls back in the day where it was like, we got no revenue. I got guys standing around. I'm not sure what to do. And so it led you along to a path. Now, you ended up being okay, but what drove you to figure some things out along the way in case the snow doesn't come?
I mean, I learned so much. So when I purchased the company, I thought I learned a couple things in 2021 because the first month I owned the company, we didn't have any snow in January. And I'm like, oh, this is what it's like not to have a lot of cash flow. And then February 2021, we had a ton of snow. And then I felt like what it was like to be cash strapped when we put out a lot of money to execute. Then the money rolled in. I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty easy. You go the next winter, we average about 35 inches of snow a year. And we ended up anywhere between 4 and 7 inches of snow and never actually plowing any snow.
Oh,
So we went from a company, we were 8.5 million in revenue in 22. And in 23, we dropped over $2 million in revenue because of the lack of snow. And our overhead had built up to support an $8 million company. So I learned more that year. And I know the conversations we had was basically, we need to sell the heck out of some landscape enhancements. We're a landscape maintenance contract. We're not doing new construction, but we've got clients that are willing to improve the look of their building. And we always just took it for granted that, yeah, there's some revenue there. When it comes around, we'll do it. And they need something, we'll fix it. I knew we were going to, on the balance sheet, we were going to lose easily, $800,000 that year because of the lack of revenue, the overhead, and the debt we carry for landscape. So
it's almost like an enhancement to you as an accident. Oh, they called, they want to do something. Cool, we'll take care of it. But that was the extent of it at that point.
We were just, 100% reactive. They needed something, go do it. If it got hot and dry, maybe we'll go sell something because we have maintenance people. There's no grass to cut. And then that was the beginning of the transformation, like you said, of our enhancement side, that we can be better, but we're more proactive. We have, percentage goals to sell off of maintenance contracts. How much enhancements do we want to sell off that none of that was there before. So, the lessons I learned from that winter of no snow carries over a lot of different ways. But one on the landscape side was definitely, we're leaving money on the table, but at the same time, we're not doing our customers any favor by seeing problems and not pointing it out. So we sold a lot more enhancements that year, happier clients, and a better balance sheet because of it.
Yeah, I love it. So tell me a few more little details, Bob, because I think there's a lot of people out there listening that might be in your same situation. They probably went through the same scenario a couple of years ago that you did. What did you have to do tactical wise to provide that? You had to identify enhancements probably on property. So that took some training. You probably had identified your account manager, people running and going, This is how we look for enhancements. Here's the type of work. And then we need to put proposals together. And then we got to go sell it. And then we got to do the ordering, all those necessary things. And that fast forward 2 years, you've got a small team that handles that for the most part, for the year round, for the most part.
Right.
What about some of those technical things that you had to work on?
Yeah. So before we get granular, I mean, in hindsight, I knew nothing about how we needed to set it up. I was the account manager. Being we do industrial work, there's not as many accounts, right? Our revenue is a much bigger number for the amount of accounts. So I could handle keeping our clients happy,
Yeah.
but I didn't have the time to keep them happy, run a business, and sell, $1.5 million worth of enhancements. So I thought the last thing I would ever give up is account management. And I think the lesson I'm still learning to this day is that just because I give up account management doesn't mean I give up the relationship, right? That was my fear. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to give up that account management, but just because we have account managers now, that's one of the tactical things we did, doesn't mean I'm gone. I'm still a driver of those relationships. So what did we do? We doubled down on our software. We worked a lot harder with LMN to make sure those things were accurate, that the inputs going in were real numbers, that the gross margin we're driving for, what are our actual goals there? We're building templates. We're on big industrial properties. There's just lots of trees that die over time or come down. How do we estimate that quickly versus, starting from scratch? So I think the big difference was, I think a lot of owners and managers will agree with this, is letting go when you don't think you can.
Yeah.
And we've got, we now have 2 account managers, Katie and Kendra. They're both great. Kendra's new and she's hitting the ground running, but letting other people do those tactical things of monitoring the site monthly, right? We have site inspection forms. So we have 2 different ones. We've got one for internal that goes to our maintenance supervisors, and they're grading the work that's done, where account managers, they don't have that form, because if they're on the site and they see our work is bad, they're throwing up the red flag. They don't need to fill out that form, because if there's a problem, which luckily doesn't happen too often, they're just shooting a flare up in the sky and we're going to fix it. But as they're on site saying, besides what we can do, Tommy, we look for everything. We don't do parking lot striping. Do our clients need it?
Yeah.
Because that's my sale philosophy, which I struggled to communicate once again, and I've learned more, is that we just want to give to our clients to such a level that they're going to give back to us with us never asking.
100%.
And it has to be that truly altruistic, that you're giving to them because you want to do a good job. And by having that philosophy, we give to them 365 days a year. So on day 365, when we say, you've got these dying trees, you need this work done, they're not going to anyone else but say, EMI, of course. We take care of them every day. They want us to fix it. They don't want to go look for another price. They don't want to see if someone else will do it cheaper or a different design. So I've been so tactical my whole life. And as I'm managing people more and more, there is a little bit more of that soft skill side. And it's the why. Why do we treat our clients so well? And what does that really mean? I think that enabled us to tap into our clients' needs and their wants, that made selling that work a lot easier.
Yeah. That's the ability to have the trust of the client to to go spend their money. And the more often, we're the professionals at the end of the day. So it's our recommendation of what they need to be done to the property to keep the enhancements, not just the bare basics of cutting grass every day. There's a lot of other things. And so when you provide value and they trust, that equals, right, a great relationship, and you get to make money along the way. So service the client to the full extent. It's kind of like we do everything but the 4 walls and the roof. Everything outside that, we'll take care of at some point, right? And then you got a customer for life. And that's the reason why we do this, is the customer for life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So let's talk about the most juicy topic on hand, and that's snow, baby.
Let's go.
Snow, man. This is the juicy part. So you do millions of dollars of revenue in snow. And as far as I'm concerned, you're one of our biggest snow clients to this day, which is great. I love to learn a lot of stuff, but it was not always that way. So give us a little background of plowing snow, where you have been and what it was like back in the day to what it is now.
Yep. I mean, way back in the day, EMI left snow removal when we got hit with a massive blizzard back in the early to mid 90s. I was a little young to be out there at that time, but I don't remember the exact snowfall total, but between 30 to 40 inches of snow in one, everything was shut down. And EMI, we did not have the equipment to handle that. So we were begging construction companies to bring equipment out and bail us out. And we lost a lot of money. We lost money because of what they charged us. We couldn't turn around and pass along to clients. And we left the snow removal industry for a few years. And we vowed that when we came back in, we'd be ready for anything. So when Ed came back in, we plow with heavy equipment, and we jumped back in with full-size loaders with big push boxes. And that was not the norm, at least in our area. Push boxes were somewhat new. They didn't gain a lot of traction, I think, until late 90s, early 2000s. And when we show up with a 16-foot wide push box, people were confused of what is this?
What is this gigantic piece of machinery? Right.
And honestly, we had competitors unhappy with us because so many people wanted to do work based off time and material. They thought we were going to kill the industry. Well, I don't like doing anything based off time and material. We're doing it. We're getting paid for results. Right. If we can get it done faster, it doesn't mean you should pay me less. You should pay me more if I'm getting it done faster, because you're open and operational, even better. So we thought we were ahead of the game with snow contracts that way, by going to a more per inch model. So when we jump back in, heavy equipment, front articulating front end loaders, compact loaders, skid steers, and we're pretty good at this. And we're in a great geographic location for it. I mean, we're in the Lehigh Valley, Eastern Pennsylvania, and everywhere you turn, there's another industrial building going up.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. We're 100% commercial, and we're 95% industrial snow removal. So we manage 30 million square feet of pavement, and things have definitely changed along the way from when we jump back in. But I still use the same joke, and my team's probably sick of hearing it. But when I started back in snow removal, when I came back to the company, even in 2009, it felt like the most important tool for the chuck in a truck snowplow guy was a 6-pack of beer in the center console. Like, it was that nonchalant, that disorganized of an industry that, it's like you just got your old pickup truck and put a plow on, to now, Tommy, I don't think we have 3 hours for me to talk to nerd out about snow, about all the technology and the advancements in the industry. But it's advanced so much in the past 5-10 years that it's almost not recognizable to what it was when I came back in 2009.
Yeah, they always say you manage the large snow contracts, the large square footage, the large pavement, and what matters to you most. It's kind of like EMI's tagline is "Service matters." Right? I love this. This is great. But the cost of that business not producing work, or the trucks getting in and out of those facilities, is what kind of money that is. And so your job is to go in there, and you've got great, nice, healthy clients. And what they expect during a snowstorm, they expect for you to perform and provide that service no matter what. So you have to be geared up at all times.
To touch on that, I mean, we've been told by certain clients that they had certain requests, and I just had to be upfront with them saying, like, that is going to cost you a lot of money. And their response is, nothing's going to cost us more than if we have to shut down this assembly line, or if our delivery trucks can't get out. That costs them more than I'm ever going to charge them.
Yeah.
Now, we're in a competitive market, so price absolutely matters. I have to be realistic, but if we're doing the job to the top level for a place that wants to stay open no matter what, price is secondary. Absolutely. And we've really found that our business model for snow and our pricing that goes along with it doesn't fit for the clients that don't want that. If they just want to be open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, and if it snows a bunch, they'll close, they don't want the dedicated equipment that we're providing them. Our price is going to be too high, and that's fair enough. If they don't need it, they don't want our service, but we're set up for that client. The phrase that's really taken our industry by storm is critical infrastructure. That's what we have to work on. If it's not critical infrastructure, if it doesn't matter if it stays open, EMI is not a fit for it. And we've learned that really, really well.
I love it, Bob, because you had identified the ideal client profile, that ICP that we always talk about. You've defined it perfectly. Like, we are that critical client that has to stay open 24 hours a day or whatever. And there's no days off in that industry.
Yep.
Well, if those, 150 trucks don't get out the gate, we're in big trouble. Yep. Because we have hundreds of people's, demands on the line to move forward. That's amazing. I will tell you this. Speak a little bit about this snow, the type of snow business you in is almost a year-round type session. You may not be plowing snow, but I be damned, Bob, you're planning way in advance, like a long time for this, because I feel like it's in a lot of our conversations. Tell me some of the behind the scenes that are happening, like when it's 90 degrees in the summer. What are you guys doing to prepare for this?
Yeah, we say we can take the month of May off from snow. That's about it. So
Wow, 11 months on and 1 month off.
yeah, and I can't help but think about it year round. But yeah, there's a lot, right? So, there's the same stuff with landscaping. You've got contract renewals, what equipment needs to be turned over that's gotten older. But there's, like I said earlier, one is just the advancements in technology. You might be able to see over my shoulder, you can barely see it, but there's a few boxes back there that now we're putting up weather stations on our client site that'll stay up all year long. There are cameras, there are weather stations. So our year starts, we say, after May, we're looking at contract renewals. We're looking at what equipment worked, what didn't work, what sites worked, and how we more efficiently service either it's a route-based work or do we need more or less equipment on a certain site? And then from there, it's, we're already looking at the year-round staff we have. Our year-round staff does one of three jobs. They're either supervising, they're running a salt truck, or they're leading one of our sidewalk teams. And we're identifying those people when it's 90 degrees, who can do those things. They each have different challenges. Leading a sidewalk team is one of the most grueling jobs, I think, almost in any industry. You're always in bad weather. You're working at night, you're out for long shifts. You have to be able to tolerate that while still managing some people.
Yeah.
Then you move from there into a salt truck, where our salt truck drivers are regional managers. You have to be able to manage your salt route, which, in a salt truck, you're using both hands. You're looking in front of you, behind you, all over the place, while also managing, 2 or 3 sidewalk teams and, 6 to 10 operators. And then we have our regional directors that then are managing all our big regions. So we're identifying those people, and with the growth we're having, who can move up? Do we have spots we have to fill anyway? And then we're looking at what's our growth capacity, which frankly often comes down just to money, right? If we want to self-perform snow, which we do subcontract work, we're, the term is maybe a blender, where we don't get work solely looking to subcontract it out. But sometimes in our portfolio, we have buildings that don't fit in our routes or where we're at. So, what capacity do we have to grow? When we're picking up 1 million square feet, we need a large loader with a hydraulic wing plow for every 10 acres. On that setup, the loader's going to cost you $200,000. The plow's going to cost you $50,000 just for 10 acres. Start multiplying that out. It's not a cheap game to play. So we're trying to plan that out, and that takes a lot of vendor relationships. We just made a big deal, and we're happy to be back with Case Construction for almost all of our equipment.
Yep.
We were with them when we were early on. We straight away went to some other brands, and Case has made a big push to be back with a snow contractor, and we're happy to be back with them. But that deal started in March.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's year round. And then right now we're trying to finish landscape and trying to do snow at the same time. So we've had deadlines that we've been working on since September, as far as making snow site map, meeting with clients so we understand their needs and their wants, doing the site inspections for preseason damage. We're training our operators. Case came out to train our operators on the new equipment. Our Metal Plus dealer trained. So there's just so many different moving parts that if you don't start looking at these until the fall, you've already missed some of the deadlines we wanted to accomplish, let alone, be ready if it snows in November.
Right. Love it. Good stuff. So I had experience in the dirt world where we used a lot of iron. And I was on a show the other day, and it talked about, iron sitting, you're losing money. And I learned that the hard way of strategizing the next job site and the next piece of machine that needs to get off the job, move to the next one, and get after it. Because when it's in transition and when it's sitting, that piece of iron is collecting dust, you're losing money. And so it's the least amount of time it sits. Unfortunately, snow only comes a few months a year, right? And so that piece of equipment is sitting and collecting dust for the remaining months. So it's what we call a sitting asset. Talk about how you handle sitting assets.
It's the scariest part of snow removal. We know our assets are going to sit, right? We can use we can use compact loaders and skid steers on the landscaping side, but we're never going to justify,
Not as much.
we're a landscape company that does, 3.5 million in landscape maintenance. You don't need a lot of heavy equipment to do landscape maintenance with 1.5 million of enhancements. Like we could use a track skid steer and a compact loader. We'd be good. We have 50 plus pieces of heavy equipment. So that's telling you how much iron is sitting for 9 months of the year. So I think what we found is a lot of it comes down to be a sustainable, an enduring snow company. A lot of it comes down to contract setup. Luckily, we have really good clients that do look at us as one of their partners, right? We're not in the transactional snow removal business. They rely on us, as we said earlier, to stay open and make money. So I tap into that and explain to them that if you want to stick with a snow contractor that's going to come in with new equipment, come in with good technology, be there every time you need it, we need to share some risk. Because if there's a lot of contracts are set up with the snow contractor taking 100% of the risk. There's no snow, there's no bills, right? We're not invoicing if it's not snowing. And that's not sustainable. We've seen the climate change. Our average snowfall is still similar. We're getting less events. There's more variability. That we had one of the least snowiest winters that we just discussed in 22 and 23. So we've gone to our client and say, how do we share some of this risk? And it's taken me a while to fully grasp how it is just a partnership. It's not me just going to them saying, would you be nice to me and share some risk? That doesn't make sense.
Right.
What I found is that if I can get them to share some of the risk, I don't have to take as much of a profit as I would if I'm taking all the risk, right? If I'm taking risk where in 1 year I'm going to lose money, you better believe it, Tommy. When it snows a lot, I'm making hand over fist.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be such high highs and such low lows. So if they're going to share some risk, whether it's a seasonal contract, whether it's a tiered seasonal that they kind of pay in increments, we have some that just pay, equipment, almost an equipment stipend.
Yeah.
But we need to recover the cost of our assets one way or another. So we really looked at our clients and said, hey, you want this service. It's almost easier with our existing clients because they know what we've done. They know what we've done for them. And we can spell out, I think I actually learned this early on. I think actually hearing Mark Bradley from LMN talk, there's times I open my books to my clients and I slide, metaphorically, I slide a piece of paper across the table and say, here are my payments on your equipment for the next 12 months. That money I'm paying whether I plow snow or not. Yeah. And if you want me to be here in 3 years, after a couple bad snow seasons, we got to share some of that risk. Right. And I've been able to lower their overall cost. And it's nice that I could say, hey, you want me to take all the risk? If we're getting 33 inches of snow, which our average, you're going to pay X. If you share some of that risk and we get 33 inches, you're going to pay X minus 15% or whatever that number is. And right. then they start to see why it's advantageous to have a partnership. So we've worked on the
one-way street all the time.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like that's the old way because that happened to you 2 years ago.
Yeah. And we at that when I took over the business, the seasonal type contracts, they weren't just that common in our area, which I think was a cop out on my part that I didn't push it harder, but we were very low in the single digits of fixed price contracts. We're up this year, we're up to 16%. We have a goal in the next 3 years to be 30%. And that'll cover our overhead, that'll cover those assets, and that'll get us close to saying, okay, even if we have multiple bad winters, maybe we're losing a little bit of money, but it's not catastrophic. And if we get to that point where it's 50% and our assets cost us somewhere between 40 and 50% just in owning the assets, do the work, then we know we're 100% covered. Worst case scenario, we put in a lot of work in break even, which again, nobody wants, but at least we're in business next year. Right. So we want those clients and, it filters back. We word it a bunch of different ways. The critical infrastructure, we say our ideal client are property and facility managers that value a partnership with their vendors and consider service first. That's what we need. And if they don't value that, Tommy, we fired a huge client going into this year because I can tell you they didn't value our partnership. And I talked to you about this.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was one of my first big sales 4 years ago. It was a 1.4 million square foot facility. And through multiple times, they've told us they don't care about us as a partner, where they were calling for a big storm. We have $1 million worth of assets there to plow their snow. And they said, don't worry about coming out. We don't want you to come out. We'll keep us we'll keep us open. And if we need you, we'll let you know. And we put in way too much work and way too much money to have us turned away at the last minute. We serviced them for the rest of the year. We came to somewhat of agreement on how to finish the year, and we let them go. And I think, I got advice from friends in the industry, and it was time. It was, they basically said, Bob, you're going to talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. I want to be able to look my team in the face to say, this is who we are, and keep them as a client. Zane is our regional manager there. He sleeps on those sites a couple times a year because he wants to keep them open. And if they're not going to appreciate's a little soft, but if they're not going to value what we do, we're not going to work for them. And we moved on.
Well, you got to make the hard decision, and you've been put in this role to make those tough decisions, those tough phone calls at the end of the day, because you're not going to sit there and just plow a bunch of snow just to make a few bucks, and it doesn't value your business and doesn't stand by it. And quite frankly, your team's going to hold you accountable to say what you say, right? And do that. I love the fact where you have snow contracts, which gives you guaranteed revenue, guaranteed goals. And the most important thing that you probably love the most is like consistent employment, right? Yes. And you just said it a minute ago, you're people first. Yep. So you talked a lot at some point back in your career of people first, but now you're really putting some good bricks in place to build this house where you're like, you can be here for a while, good, consistent revenue, good, consistent employment.
Yes.
That you've been building that for years. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's something I think is people ask me what I changed when I owned the business, and I didn't change this. I feel like I just doubled down on who we were.
Yeah.
And it's easy to talk about. I look outside my window, and not that we're all materialistic, but like there's a lot of new vehicles out there. And, it's important that to me,
big deal,
that our people are taken care of, right? Like I want them to be able to buy a new vehicle when needed. We have people buying homes and starting families that I don't think our industry supported that 10, 15 years ago, especially here where it was totally seasonal. When I bought the business, there was myself, my mom, my stepdad, and 2 other people that were kept on year round. Now we still have some seasonal layoffs, but I think we're up to 20, 25 people we keep on year round, no matter what. And some others get laid off for a short amount of time, just until the snow starts flying. We get some revenue in. Frankly, Tommy, some people are looking forward to it. We work hard. They're looking for a few weeks off, collect a little bit of unemployment, recover, see their family. But yeah, we put our people first. We do some unique things that if you're with us for 3 years, we're going to cover your health insurance 100%. Yeah. You're part of the family for lack of a better term, that if you've been here for 3 years in our industry, you've been through the ups and downs, like you're one of us. Like health insurance, I don't want my people worried about, can they pay medical bills?
Just handle it.
We pay 75% of the employee after 90 days. And after 3 years, we're going to pay 100% because I don't know, it's the right thing to do. So that people first is our driver. Our 401k program, I think, is good. And our broker came to us for the 401k and said, hey, you could save some money by not guaranteeing this contribution, but only matching. And I looked at it and said, wow, that would save us $25,000 next year. And I thought about it and I said, no, I'm sure we have some people that don't value the 401k we offer for them. But if we're providing 3% of their salary into retirement that they'd otherwise have no retirement, I'm not taking that away from them. So yeah, we really look at that. And I think it's what's allowed us to grow and keep our people. We've built this core group. In our industry, you're going to have some turnover, right? But we're not losing people who have been with us. Once we get people in for 6 months, they're not going anywhere. We're not losing them to another landscape company. If we're losing people, they've left the industry. Because I grew up here, Tommy. You grew up in the industry. I grew up in the industry. I've worked real hard in landscaping and snow. I know how difficult that is. So we'll even do it when there's a forecast and our final forecast comes in over a foot. We're paying our people an additional 50% on top of their already increased snow rate. Yeah. We're basically getting double their landscape rate because they're going to be out for the next 20 hours. Right. They may have to sleep in a hotel and be out for another 12. Yeah. They deserve everything they get. So that people first, I think, is our number one driver.
Yeah, I love it. If you don't have those people first, you don't have a business. And so take care of them first at the end of the day. that is the true value of a business is right there is the team. It's the people on the field, not the people up in the suite. So
Yeah.
I love it. I got one more thing to talk about. You're great at relationships and taking care of people and all that, but most importantly, you've also known to have really good vendor relationships. And when you hosted this past year your group, and it was phenomenal to see just what you've been able to accomplish with your vendors. And it's just an extension of EMI. And talk about why that matters to you. People in your business matter to you, probably number one. I'd say the other thing on the top 5 list is your vendor relationships and taking care. Why does that matter so much? And why do you work so hard for that?
Yeah, when we say people first, we always say that means our team, it means our clients, and it means our vendors. It goes every direction. The vendors, what we have found is that we almost flip the coin with our ideal client. We want to be the ideal client for our vendors.
Oh,
When we say we're looking for a client that values a partnership with their vendors, and consider service first, we want to be that client for our vendors, right? Like
oh,
that, it would almost be, it would absolutely be hypocritical for me to say I want low price and I want this and I want that. And what we found too is that when we find the right vendor, it's a good price. Maybe it's not the best price, but so much of, especially in a growing company, because we're doing something new every year, our vendors teach us the things we don't know. So, where we're buying our chemicals for our lawn care program and our bed maintenance program, they're teaching us multiple times a year. They'll come down, sit down with half our team and teach us, what's the next thing with plant growth regulators? What's the
yeah,
newest thing for just broadleaf weed control? Or, hey, the nut sedge is real bad. How are we going to do that? Or brine, we were early on with brine and snow removal, and
yeah.
we partnered up with VSI, and now it's VSI by Boss. And we'd buy 2 sprayers, and the owner of VSI would be in our shop walking us through how to use these things.
Wow.
Could I buy a cheaper sprayer? I
Yeah.
probably could have. Would the owner be in my shop? Would he answer the phone at 3 a.m? I don't know, but that's who we're looking for. Because if we're going to be so fanatical about making sure our clients are taken care of, in turn, basically, I want the same treatment.
Same thing. Same thing.
And one of our core values is build and maintain lasting relationships. And, I sometimes say it's almost a rule that I don't want to work with jerks. Like
Yeah.
it's almost selfish in a
Kind
way.
of over it.
What's that?
There's a lot of jerks in the snow business, right? And you're over it. You've been through that. You've seen it.
Yeah. And like, I spend a lot of time at work, and in the winter, so do our employees. Like there's times where we're at work for 70, 80 hours a week. And if our vendors aren't good to deal with, if I got to call a vendor and they're not good to deal with, and our team isn't, like,
Yeah.
what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, I think one thing I've learned is that, life is short. Like a business has to make money, and that's always going to be in the top 3 there. But I want to enjoy going to work. I want to enjoy the people I'm working with. I want to enjoy the clients as much as I can that I work with. And we've been lucky with our vendors. We're Exmark mowers, and I think because we've stuck with them for so long, and we've purchased so much with them, and we give them feedback, good or bad, they're open to all of it. But when we need something, our distributor, it's not just the dealer, the distributor's at our door helping us. And we've got some pretty unique ones where we have one that's a vendor and a client, right? So we work for Mack trucks. They're
Yeah.
owned by Volvo. And that relationship goes really deep, that we've been with them for more than a decade. We started just helping them with some of their spring cleanup, edging and mulching. We started mowing their places. We started doing annual flowers. Then we did all the snow plowing. Now we do pretty much everything outside their 4 walls,
Yeah.
but we also do it with Volvo equipment. Anytime Volvo makes the equipment we can use. So we made the deal with Case Construction, and that does pretty much all our sites except for Mack trucks. And those Volvo equipment, that's some of the nicest equipment we've ever used, but it's pretty cool to be at the Mack assembly plant, keeping them running
Yeah.
while we're using Volvo equipment. And
It's a perfect marriage.
it's a true partnership. And I know when I'm talking to the local boots on the ground for Mack trucks, what it means to them that we're showing up with brand new Volvo equipment. We have a Mack medium duty pickup truck, dump truck salting their lot. And when they have to go to corporate procurement to make sure we stay in, they almost have to sell us. And it's easy for them because it's such a partnership that like you said earlier, it's a 2-way street.
Yeah.
And it makes everybody It makes everyone's job that much easier.
Oh man, I it's all about relationships at the end of the day,
It
and
really is. It
it's
really is.
based on trust. And as long as you perform, say what you do, this business becomes sort of easy
yes.
in the right mind. Man, lots of great stuff, Bob. I'm gonna run through a few takeaways. We'll call them Tommy's takeaways. So I love this portion. So no snow to enhancement division. That's fascinating to me, right? So we're gonna prepare sales, like we're gonna identify things that will produce an enhancement on a property. We're gonna train our team. We're gonna learn how to estimate those. We're gonna know the reason why everything outside the four walls and a roof, you know, the account manager can take over the reins and run with things. I love that. I love that answer. Back into the snow business, 100% people first. Love snow contracts. Help me weigh the cost, the load of sitting assets along the way. I learned these things from you. It's not a yes to every contract and a yes to every client. So you need to take a step back in your business and really identify what matters most to you and these clients, and set the bar at that height, and don't involve more clients that don't fit that model to keep jumping into your space. And relationships comes down to relationships 100%. It's a two-way street. It's a partnership. It's a friendship. It's practically a dang near marriage, right? And I've seen photos of you in front of the Mack trucks looking mighty fine, my friend. And I've seen your fleet. It's probably the most impressive fleet. I also got to throw something really funny out there, because this is great. When we visited your place, I could probably eat on that floor of the shop. It was so thick and I'm like, this guy's a mechanic, my friend. Like showroom floor mechanic. It looked like a NASCAR race, full of mowers getting serviced, just constantly. And I'm like, this is fat. Like I got my like goosebumps and my arms were raised high. It was just impressive facility, by the way. You take pride in your work, pride in your team. I really appreciate you sharing that. What's one sort of little nugget that you kind of live by in the Bob Marks world, that this is what got me from where I was sort of in the transition period of the EMI to where I am now? You still got some more to go, but what do you live and die by?
Tommy, I got a while to go. You know, two things. One is definitely business related. You know, I think it's a little bit repetitive what we talked about, but it's doubling down on what you're good at. My skill, one of my skills in business is communicating why EMI is different to the clients.
Okay.
And why EMI is different to potential team members. You know, Tommy, we've talked a lot about building a team, and I've struggled at it a little bit, I think, because I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know where I was going. I did everything myself. So we built a team, and, you know, I don't want to, toot my own horn here, but my team has turned around and said to me, like, everyone's willing to run through, the phrase, run through a brick wall. Everybody's so invested in EMI success. And I think it's because, one, I preach about why EMI is great, but because we are a people first company, it's just so reciprocal. We have an internal motto here, and I call it the EMI inner circle. And it starts with, at the very top, when I hire someone, the old motto was like, the employee had to earn my trust, right? That was the old way, right? Like, I hired you,
you got to earn it, baby. I've been here for 25 years.
Yep. Well, it's 100% flipped on its head, where when I hire someone, I've got to do some work for them to trust us.
Right.
There's more job openings than employees, than team members these past few years. So like, my job, step one, is you joined us. How do I get you to trust me that we are who we say we are, and we're going to do these things? And when we can start to get a new team member to see that we're the real deal as far as what we say we're going to do, we do, they buy in and they want to do a good job. And then as that circle starts to go around, they buy in, and that's the 3 o'clock on the circle. And going to 6 o'clock is they start doing amazing work, and our clients start to recognize that. And when it comes to enhancement sales and renewals, our clients are so well taken care of, they say yes, and there's increases and there's profit, right. And it goes back up to 12 o'clock, where EMI can give back to that employee even more than we originally did. And they start to trust us more. And that circle just spins faster and faster. So for us, it was doubling down on people first. and it's just multiplied us in ways that I didn't see it coming.
Love it. That's great. What about the second one?
I think you're on the same page with me, Tommy, is business health. Business health often goes with physical and mental health.
I knew you were going to say this. I knew it. I knew it.
So I was in the best shape of my life when I purchased the company. And, all the excuses, I bought a company, I was stressed out, and I was living a unhealthy lifestyle for the past 3 years. And something clicked recently where I'm like, this isn't good for me. And I started hitting the gym again. I started watching what I was eating, and that's really snowballed as well. As you know, Tommy, I haven't had a drink now in over 5 months, and the energy with all three combined of working out and not drinking any alcohol and eating properly has supercharged me, and my team has recognized it, and that spread itself. And, not that everything comes down to the owner, but when they see me fired out of a cannon every morning because I feel great and I'm ready to go, you can inspire people by what you say, but I think I've been able to inspire people just by turning a new leaf, and it's propelled our business. I think it's made my mental clarity see things that I maybe knew, or maybe I wasn't seeing them at all, and now I see them, and I'm just not willing to put up with things that I don't think are good enough. And it's really, in the past 5 months, I had to be clear with my team. We made some changes personnel wise, and it was a big change. And I called a meeting for our leadership team, and they had seen the change in me so much over the last 5 months, Tommy. I'm healthy. I'm good. They thought I was dying because they thought I was so intense. They thought I was flipping, and I wasn't going to be here anymore. But it's like, no, there's just changes happening, and I'm so ready to go that I had to assure them, no, I'm good. I'm just ready to go. And it's really propelled us that I think 2025 is gonna just be awesome.
Yeah, that's great. We've been on this journey for a while. I went through a few things a few years ago, actually 4 years ago, and it's like, whoa, it's a little eye-opening experience. And I'm with you. First off, take care of this God-gifted body that you have and this God-gifted mind that you've been given, and don't feed it and fuel it with a bunch of junk, because then it's this sort of sporadic, uncleared person. And not only that, you're the leader of that group of team. So set the bar high and the example, because everyone's watching you, right?
Yep.
So if you're very sloppy and not communicative and sort of a mess and not taking care of yourself, it doesn't. But something to be said about someone that takes care of their body physically and mentally is like, that dude is sharp. I want to associate with myself with that person. He's taking care of himself. He's taking care of the company. So I'm a huge believer of that. You and I are on the same sort of track record, baby. I knew you were going to say that, and I really appreciate it. Bob, it's been a super honor to have you on the show. Man, we can just go for 3 more hours. Just keep
I know, Tommy, you told me 30 to 40 minutes. I'm like, I better talk fast.
Yeah, you better talk fast. I've always truly, loved to listen to your passion, your energy. It's contagious. Just a great person. You're right. Give credit to your wife. She's an amazing lady. I visited last month and had a ton of fun. But thank you so much for being a guest. I have tons of energy for success for the next year for you. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun ride. So thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Tommy. And yeah, I think a lot of the success going forward, I owe to McFarland Stanford and the peer group that, you and Jim have guided. And, we have a big peer group now with, I think, 13 other members in our group. And I actually just had a call yesterday, unsolicited, from Tom from our group with a little bit of advice. Yeah. So yeah, thanks so much to you as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, good times. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Tommy.
Ready to take the next step? Download our free profitability scorecard to quickly create your own baseline financial assessment and uncover the fastest ways to improve your business. Just go to mcfarlandstanford.com/scorecard to get yours today. To learn more about McFarland Stanford, our best-in-class peer groups, and other services, go to our website at mcfarlandstanford.com, and don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time on The Roots of Success.